Hi, and welcome back. Today we are going to learn about how knowing our strengths and personality traits drives our decisions and even our emotions. When we use our strengths, those activities that we feel most natural and energizing, we tend to feel more fulfilled and engaged. And when we understand our personality traits, we're better equipped to choose careers, relationships, and environments that suit us, not the ones that drain us. If you don't already have a notepad and pencil, you might want to go grab one. You'll need them as we work through our session today. But before we start, how are you feeling today? It's good to do a mental check-in with ourselves throughout the day. A little introspection builds self-awareness, and self-awareness builds intention to refocus our attention and realign us with our goals. So what's on the forefront of your mind? Maybe write it down and set aside time later to think about it so you can work through it. This is a great practice to do throughout the day, bringing awareness to what's holding our attention and what our concerns are. Are you ready to dive in? Let's review our mission statement, the guiding set of principles that we have agreed to move us in the direction we want to go in. I'm here today to uncover my strengths, align with my values, and design a life of meaning and purpose. I choose to grow through challenges with clarity, courage, and joy. Because when we know who we are, what is innate to us, what energizes us, and what overwhelms us, we choose goals and environments that align us with our innate strengths, talents, interests, and characteristics. Simply put, we design a life around the things that we're good at that allow us to shine. We become the main character of our own stories, building resilience and confidence by being more of ourselves. Using our strengths often clarifies our purpose, our why. Why are we here on this earth? Which is a lifelong question we seek to answer. What should I do with the time I'm given? Our strengths are sunshine, the hidden treasure we often didn't know we had inside of us. And knowing these strengths fosters confidence, self-acceptance, and growth, because instead of looking for what's wrong with us and trying to fix ourselves, we learn the very many things that are right and good about us. So let's do just that. There are many tools you can use, but this one in particular is the most widely used resource to establish and support your character strengths. Researchers at the VIA Institute of Character Strengths have devised a questionnaire that ranks the 24 adult character strengths, which classifies positive traits and provides a common language around these characteristics. So let's find out yours. Pause the video here and use the QR code to take the survey to determine your character strengths. And when you're ready, come on back. I'll be waiting right here. So how do you feel knowing your strengths and seeing them sequenced this way? Do you feel they're accurate? Where do you see evidence of this in your personal and professional life? I remember the first time I took this survey. I felt seen for the first time. I felt like, wow, this makes sense. This is who I am. The reason I do things and what I value is finally starting to make sense. Remember what we discussed in the first lesson. Knowing what we value is the foundation of building a life of joy, meaning, and purpose. Knowing what we value and the value we bring and what might be getting in our way is all part of this process of designing a life on our terms. So let's get a little more specific for a moment and look at the difference between passion strengths and performance strengths. While they're related, there's a small distinction between them. So passion strengths are strengths that energize and fulfill you. They're tied to what you love doing, what excites you, and what you feel deeply connected to. Even if you're not yet highly skilled at them, you're just naturally drawn to improving and engaging in these activities. Passion strengths fuel intrinsic motivation and long-term engagement. Passion strengths are simply a part of who you are, making you feel more you every time you get to use them. Performance strengths are where you excel and deliver strong results. They're typically skills or abilities that you've honed through experience, practice, and necessity. You're good at them because you've cultivated them, but you might not feel fulfilled when you practice them. You're confident in your ability to perform them, however. You're qualified and feel grounded when you're using these because of your rich experience with them. Look, it doesn't really matter which is which. What matters is that you use them and use them frequently in your personal life and your professional life, with your friends, family, community, organizations. Using our strengths builds confidence, engagement, and fulfillment. And remember that being happy is learning to dial up the good, dial up what brings us more positive experiences and emotions, just as much as it is dialing down the amount of time and thoughts we spend on the negative ones. These strengths help us to construct meaning in our lives, giving us purpose. They are our gifts, our talents to share abundantly in the world. They're our superpowers, and when we use them, we shine. So what have you learned about yourself? What are your strengths, and where do you shine in your life? Was there a time, a magical moment, when it seemed like all of the stars aligned and you lost all track of time using your strengths? I call this a constellation moment. You shined and everything just flowed. Write about that. And when you're ready, come on back. The next gauge we're going to look at today, in an effort to know ourselves better, is our personality traits. Remember that we're merely scratching the surface on all three of these fields: values, strengths, and personality. They are entire disciplines, each to their own. Personality traits are stable but not fixed. And that means that while they're generally consistent, especially in adulthood, they're mutable, changeable. And this means that through deliberate efforts, actions, mindsets, growth, and lifestyle changes, personality traits can be altered. Learning about our personality helps us to understand our own personal experience in the world. It helps explain how and why we make the decisions and the choices that we do. There are many tools we can use to determine our inherent personality traits, but the Big Five, also called the five-factor model, is considered one of the most valid personality tests. It provides a comprehensive and relatively stable framework, and it's valid across cultures and geographic regions, making it an ideal way to assess personality. Each trait exists on a spectrum, with individuals varying in how strongly they express each one. So pause the video now and use the QR code to take the survey. And when you're ready, come on back. I'll be waiting right here. Now that you have your ratings, I'm sure you have some questions. So let's review what each trait means, both the shine and the shadow side. Remember, we aren't judging these either. We're merely becoming aware of how you operate so that you can know more about why you are the way you are, and then you can make more informed decisions using that information. And keep in mind that for each of these characteristics, you may not embody every single quality, but your score indicates that you're closer to one side of the continuum than the other. So jot down the qualities that you feel you align with, and we'll review each one. O is for openness, which refers to our willingness and interest in engaging with new concepts, new ideas, new experiences, and perspectives. A person who is high in openness is intellectually curious, creative, has an active imagination, and is likely adventurous and tries new things. They might also be a little impractical, overly idealistic, easily distracted, and a little unpredictable. However, individuals who are low in openness prefer routines and might be a bit reluctant to change. They're probably less curious and less imaginative and employ more concrete thinking and practical and realistic plans. C is for conscientiousness, and it refers to the ability to be goal-directed, hardworking, organized, and responsible. Individuals who are high in conscientiousness are self-disciplined, dependable, and are probably high achievers. But this also means they might be a little perfectionistic, rigid, and work too much. Being low in conscientiousness means an individual might be more spontaneous, relaxed, and flexible. But it could also mean that they procrastinate, lack follow-through, and are a bit unreliable. E stands for extroversion, and this refers to our tendency to be assertive, outgoing, and sociable. If someone scores high in extroversion, they're likely charismatic and enthusiastic, energized by being around other people. They might also seek attention, though, and be a little impulsive, and feel the need to be around others frequently. A low score can indicate that an individual is independent, a good listener, and thoughtful, but it might come across as aloof and uninterested. They may also be more introspective and contemplative and need their quiet time. A is for agreeableness, and this reflects a person's ability to be compassionate, considerate, and cooperative. Individuals who are high in agreeableness are likely team players, warm, empathetic, and willing to compromise. However, they might be over-trusting, avoid necessary difficult conversations, and be a people pleaser. People who are low in agreeableness might be confrontational, critical and argumentative, but also more direct and good in high-stakes environments and independent. And lastly, N refers to neuroticism, and this is the tendency to experience negative emotions such as anxiety, worry, sadness, listlessness. Someone who is high in neuroticism is reactive to stress, experiences feelings of self-doubt, insecurity. They may lack confidence and might have difficulty managing emotions. Someone who is low in neuroticism is calm, resilient, emotionally steady. However, they could appear detached and disinterested. Which of your big 5 traits surprised you the most? Did the results feel accurate? Is this how you see yourself? Which trait do you feel is your greatest strength in achieving your goals, and which ones are holding you back? There are so many questions we can ask about ourselves to get closer to understanding who we are and how we function. These questions help us to get clear on what we need to do in order to be happier and more successful. We could be here a good long time discussing the Big 5. There's an awful lot to unpack. And you probably noticed that in this course, I'm asking you to do a lot of writing. That's because reflecting on our learning, and specifically writing, helps us to process information. It provides us with a safe space to observe our behaviors, thoughts, and emotions, and gain some perspective and clarity from them. This helps us to plan, dream, and find creative solutions without worrying about judgment from ourselves or others. It also helps to hold ourselves accountable, improves our memory, and helps focus our thoughts and plans. So here's an example of some insight I gained from my own Big 5 assessment and how I use this information to leverage my strengths and support my growth edges so I can continue to make progress on my goals and dreams. I learned that I'm very high in conscientiousness, and I see evidence of this in both my personal and professional life. Through journaling, I recalled something that my brother has always said about me. He said that I get more done before 9 a.m. than most people do in a week. We chuckle about this because it's true. I am a task master. In fact, I have a hard time not being productive. I have a hard time relaxing and shutting it all down. I feel like I always need to be doing something, and I'm always in work mode, even though it's very motivating and energizing for me. I'm not judging this information, I'm just observing it and understanding that because I'm high in conscientiousness, I will need to build a routine, a strategy, or a habit around it so I don't burn myself out. So I remind myself that it's time to do something different. It's okay to take a break and work on either a different project or maybe no project at all. It's okay to do an activity just for the sake of enjoying it. I might go for a walk or play the piano or whip up something in the kitchen. Something that might seem productive, which makes me feel accomplished, but isn't necessarily work-related. Having this information is helpful because it helps me to schedule my time outs, or as I like to call them, time ins, time in connection with something other than work, time in nature, time in connection with a friend, time in with myself and my own personal interests. Knowing how our personalities both help and hinder us can clarify why we make the decisions we do and can foster growth by leveraging the advantageous parts of our personalities and create workarounds for the less favorable parts. Let's take that break now and write about what some of your own reflections have revealed to you about what's working for you and maybe some areas you'd like to work on. Here are some more questions for you to consider while you write. Happiness isn't ignoring the parts of ourselves that need growth. We can't only focus on the merit and rewards that the positive aspects of ourselves imbue us with. But there is utility in knowing what they are so that we can use them more frequently and widely in our lives. This helps to increase our reserves of positive emotions, which makes us more resilient. Think of it like storing it for a rainy day. When we live in accordance with our value system, when we use our strengths in our everyday lives, and when we understand how our personality drives our decision-making, we experience greater alignment, authenticity, and fulfillment, leading to a deeper sense of purpose and well-being. What's your hidden treasure? What do you have to share with the world? How has your value system, your strengths, and your personality shaped you? How have they positively contributed to your growth and success, and how have they hindered you? And it's okay if the first thought that pops up is, I don't know. Sometimes it takes a little longer to process these pieces of information and the things that we learn about ourselves, and to really understand how we're guided by each of them. But there is merit in thinking about these things without judgment, knowing yourself without judgment, and deciding what's been working for you and what's been working against you. These are great conversations to have with a trusted friend or therapist. Because remember our mission statement. We choose to grow through the challenge of knowing ourselves, through maybe the pain of clarity that comes from knowing ourselves, and then the courage to do something about it. The work of being happier is work. It is looking at ourselves more critically and deciding if who we are is serving our best interests, and if we can begin to change the parts of us that aren't really serving us in small incremental ways. And I would contend that the best way to do that is to use our strengths more. So, how and where can you start sharing them? How can you use your natural abilities, inclinations, interests, talents, and gifts, whatever you want to call them, to improve the quality of your life and the lives of those around you, whether it's professionally or personally? How can you leverage your values, your strengths, and your personality to uplift, inspire, and elevate what's possible in your world? How can you do that with yourself, with your friends, your family, and at work? When you do this, when you honor the spirit that resides within you, instead of fighting who you are, you cherish it and you pay tribute to it, and you light up the world by just being you. So through intention and connection, you shine. So find ways, design ways to share more of you with the world. The world needs more of you in it. And before we go, what are 3 things you're grateful for? What are 2 things you're looking forward to? And what is 1 thing that you love about your life right now? And now that you know who you are from the inside out, what do you want to create in your life? What is now possible for you that you thought wasn't before? And your challenge? When are you going to get started? What steps are you willing to take? What seems possible to you? So thank you. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you feel really proud of the work you're doing. It's hard work to look at ourselves and make choices and changes to move us from a place of comfort of where we are through a place of discomfort to arrive at a new and uncertain future that we are envisioning. And I hope you continue to choose not who you are in this moment, not who you are by default, but who you want to be, because that is where your power lies. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to connecting with you again real soon.